What's up, guys? No Misses here. Today, I'll be talking about how this is right after the Collin Sexton Young Bull game. I mean, dude really looked like he was a leader and he could be a franchise player, all future All Star. And he's been playing like a future All Star this season. The first 14 games, he has been putting up 25 points per game. He's been shooting 51% from three, which on 4 threes a game, and 53 from the field. And when in the game where he was playing the Nets, when the Cavs needed to have him show up in the second OT, he scored like all 15 points in that OT. I mean, this guy I could see is very he's a character. That's all I'll say. He's this crazy character, and he is not afraid to get dirty and down and dirty. And the Cavaliers have been decent this year. I mean, they've been the worst offensive team in the league, but they have the second best defense in the league right now. I mean, their head coach, JB Barrington, it's something like that, where he's been like he's had like two interim head coaches, I think. I remember his first job was with the Houston Rockets after Kevin McHale, where they made it to the playoffs but first round exit. And then they had he was the interim coach with the Grizzlies after David Fizdale got fired, and he had a decent season, and then he was interim coach last year. Now he's like the real coach for this year. I mean, he's this is I would say a grit and grind team. I mean, this team's very big and it's very good defensively. I mean, it's not even about like they have these lockdown defenders, because they don't have the best lockdown defenders. I mean, you have Collin Sexton, who isn't the most physically best defender. I mean, he's like 6'1" shooting guard, and he's good laterally, but I think he tries very hard on the defensive side. And I think you could have saw in this game where he got into faces of Kyrie, James Harden, and just made them uncomfortable. Like that Patrick Beverly, even though I'm not taller or stronger than you, I'm gonna still get in your face and I'm gonna still annoy the crap out of you. And that's what he did. And then the other interesting player, the other upcoming star, would be Darius Garland. Darius Garland is averaging 17 points a game and is putting up 6.3 assists with a good shooting splits of 46% from three and an overall focal percentage of 45% and from the field. And he just looks like a real NBA player. I mean, last year he didn't look like he was fit to be in the NBA. Remember that he only played, I would say, like 5 games at the collegiate level, where he at Vandy, where he like tore his ACL. So he kind of missed that whole year of progression where he was getting his body right for the NBA training, where he was just rehabbing. And this year, I think it took him a year. I think he had that Gordon Hayward, where it's gonna need him to take a year to get back into rhythm. But he's been playing great. Defensively, he's kind of a defensive liability, but offensively, he's been pretty good for a second year. I could see this guy not maybe being a borderline all-star. Both of these guys, Collin Sexton's playing like an all-star. Darius Garland is playing like a borderline all-star, and I see if he progresses the way I think he'll progress, give him 2-3 years, and yeah, I think we could see him as a borderline all-star type of prospect, and I could see what I think is these guys would be poor man's Trailblazers. I could see that. Really good offensively threats, but defensively, they're not really good, and they're gonna need pieces, and that's what they have. They have Cedi Osman, at the small forward position at the 3, where he's a good 3-and-D player, and then you have a center in Drummond, who's currently averaging a double-double. And then you also have wings like Isaac Okoro coming off the bench. Good defensive player. He's a rookie that's raw on the offensive side. I mean, really raw. And then you had you have the former All Star Kevin Love, who's only played 2 games this year, and who would increase the spacing and probably increase increase the depth of this team because they had Larry Nance starting at the 4, and if you have a Larry Nance coming off the bench, then it would just increase your whole depth in your selling. And I mean, Kevin Love's still a good player, even though he's not the player what he used to be. And they just traded for Jared Allen, good defensive guy, long term starter. Here's what I think is probably gonna happen. They realize that Drummond wants probably like a max contract, and they're not just willing to pay for that. So why won't you they traded for Jared Allen, which was probably a steal. I think they gave like a second round pick or something, and then they gave up like Dante Exum. But yeah, they got Jared Allen, and then so who's a cheaper option than Drummond, and could potentially be a better option than Drummond. I mean, Drummond is probably one of the best rebounders in the modern history in this past decade, but rebounding has kind of been obsolete since the pace of the game so quick and since everybody takes 3-pointers where the when you shoot from a 3, you're more likely to get a head bounce back that's further than the paint, and Drummond's where he gets all his rebounds are in the paint. So yeah, you could see that. But I could see Drummond getting traded from the deadline. He probably won't have much value. Probably on a team that has 2 stars maybe, and then you could probably get. I remember when they traded for him, they got like a second round pick and like a center that's I don't even think is still in the league. So maybe you could get a second round pick for him, or maybe a late first round pick from a contender or something. But I don't see you getting, or they just let him walk in free agency. And then you have Larry Nance, been a good player. They've been playing small forward with him a little bit too. Very interesting, especially now today. I mean, he hasn't been bad, but he's been okay. And once Kevin Love's, I could see Kevin Love taking that starting 4 spot, then Larry Nance coming off the bench, because their front court's very stacked, and that's why I see Drummond coming off the bench soon or getting traded, is because you still have you have JaVale McGee, then you have Kevin Love, then you have Larry Nance, and then you have Jared Allen, and then you have Drummond still. So that's like 5 big men, 5 potential centers right there. Where I feel like you could play small ball center with Kevin Love a little bit. But yeah. I can see this team probably being a 6th, 7th, 8th seed. Very grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies, early 2010s Memphis Grizzlies. If they just beat the new big 3 of the Nets, and this team could be a very scary team, and I feel like you wouldn't want to go against them because they seem to slow it down a lot, where they slow it down, they get points off turnovers. I mean, they had a very good shooting night. They shot like 50% from 3 to beat the Cavs in the 2-time OT. So I think they just really shot good from 3, and I don't think Collin Sexton would just go NJ mode where he's just not missing, especially in a big time like that. And it's just I think this situation, I don't think they could keep it up like this where they could beat the super team, but I feel like they could be probably a 4 or 5 seed. I'd be scared if I was the 5th seed, if I was the 4th, 3rd seed, and if I had to go against this team that kind of slows everything down and that goes through their guards. So yeah, if Isaac Okoro could improve offensively, then this team would be very scary because you could have Cedi Osman playing. You could go small with Cedi Osman at the 4, then Isaac Okoro at the 3. Then you could even have Kevin Love at the 5. Then you'd have everybody could shoot, and that would be a very hard defensive. That would have been, and then So you have Sadie Osman who could play. I think that could guard 1 through 4, and then Isaac Okoro, good defensive player. Kevin Love, probably still one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. And then you had Collin Sexton, who's not the most talented defensive player, but I think he could still be a good defensive player. And then Darius Garland, who's probably your only liability defensively in that lineup. So yeah, and then if you could switch out Kevin Love for Jared Allen to get you more rim protection. So I can see this team being very versatile, and then just being kind of scary. And then this year I feel like once the draft, and then they still have cap room, so they'll be able to make moves. And maybe if they want to get off Kevin Love's contract, they could. I'm already thinking they might trade Drummond. They have 5 big men who could play center, and I think that's just too many big men right now. So yeah, if you guys wanna subscribe, this team just looks scary. It looks decent. It looks like a competent Cavaliers team without LeBron, which is very interesting, and maybe they might become into might be a relevant team in the NBA now without LeBron, because the only time the Cavaliers are relevant is with LeBron. So yeah, if you guys want to hear more, I try to upload every day, and so make sure you subscribe, comment, and turn on post notifications. We're on that grind to 20 subscribers. Make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you guys later. No misses out.